I've never parted with anything. Never sold one thing. So
Never sold one thing?
No, not one. I'm thinking when am I gonna do it? And I never thought I'd come to this day. So I started thinking about it recently, and there's no better time. This is it, you know?
This is it for you.
Yeah,
this is the moment.
Is it, yeah.
For millions of viewers, American Pickers was never just about antiques. It was about the people finding them. But while the cameras captured unforgettable discoveries, they missed the personal battles, heartbreaking losses, legal troubles, and life-changing moments that transformed the cast away from the road. Today, their lives look very different from the ones fans remember. So where are the American Pickers cast today? Join us as we uncover where every major American Pickers cast member is now. Frank Fritz. For more than a decade, Frank Fritz was one of the faces of American Pickers. Whether he was digging through dusty barns, negotiating over forgotten treasures, or cracking jokes from the passenger seat of the famous white van, Frank became a fan favorite for his down-to-earth personality and sharp eye for hidden value. So when viewers noticed he suddenly disappeared after season 21 in 2020, questions started pouring in. At first, many assumed he'd eventually return. Instead, the years that followed became one of the saddest chapters in the show's history. Long before television cameras even thought of following his adventures, Frank had already developed the passion that would shape his entire life. As a kid, he collected rocks. Later, that hobby evolved into collecting beer cans, and by his teenage years, he was exploring railroad tracks near his neighborhood, searching for discarded items left behind by travelers. Those early adventures became his first real experience as a picker, teaching him that almost anything could have value if you knew where to look. His friendship with Mike Wolf also began early. The two met in the 8th grade, and it didn't take long to realize they shared the same obsession with uncovering forgotten treasures. What started as a shared hobby would eventually grow into one of reality television's most recognizable partnerships. Before becoming a television star, Frank spent about 25 years working as a fire inspector. Even while holding a full-time job, he never lost his passion for antiques and collectibles. Eventually, he opened Frank Fritz Finds, his antique shop in Savannah, Illinois, turning his lifelong hobby into a business. Everything changed in 2010, when American Pickers premiered on the History Channel. The series became an instant hit, introducing millions of viewers to the thrill of searching through barns, garages, warehouses, and forgotten properties for valuable pieces of American history. For the first 10 years of the show, Frank appeared in more than 300 episodes alongside Mike Wolf. While Mike often approached negotiations strategically, Frank brought humor, spontaneity, and an obvious passion for motorcycles that made the duo feel perfectly balanced. Their chemistry became one of the biggest reasons audiences kept tuning in. But behind the scenes, Frank was quietly fighting battles most viewers never knew about. For decades, he had been living with Crohn's disease, a chronic inflammatory bowel condition that often causes severe pain, fatigue, and other serious health complications. Although he rarely allowed it to define him on camera, managing the illness became increasingly difficult over the years. His health challenges only grew more complicated. Frank eventually underwent major back surgery, and the recovery proved much longer than expected. During that difficult period, he also sought treatment for alcohol abuse, something he later chose to discuss publicly in an interview with the U.S. Sun. His openness about seeking help earned support from many fans, who admired his willingness to speak honestly about his struggles. Then came the turning point no one expected. In July 2022, Frank suffered a devastating stroke that left him unable to communicate effectively or make important decisions about his own affairs. A few months later, in October 2022, a court placed him under temporary guardianship to help manage both his medical care and finances as he recovered. Sadly, recovery never came the way everyone had hoped. Over the next 2 years, Frank moved between hospitals, rehabilitation facilities, and specialized care. Friends remained hopeful, but his condition continued to decline. Eventually, he entered hospice care as those closest to him prepared for the heartbreaking reality that his fight was coming to an end. On September 30th, 2024, Frank Fritz passed away at the age of 60. His official cause of death was listed as late sequelae of cerebral infarction, the long-term complications resulting from the stroke he had suffered 2 years earlier, caused by underlying cerebrovascular disease. The news deeply affected both fans and his former co-stars. Mike Wolf announced Frank's passing in an emotional Instagram post, writing that he had known Frank for more than half his life. He described him as a dreamer who was every bit as funny and sensitive off-camera as he appeared on television. Danielle Colby also shared a heartfelt tribute, remembering Frank's ability to make everyone laugh, his love of motorcycles, tattoos, and collecting unique antiques. More than anything, she said she would miss the moments when Frank quietly revealed his vulnerable side, showing a kindness that viewers only occasionally got to see. At the time of his death, Frank's net worth was estimated at around $6 million, but his passing marked the beginning of another unexpected chapter. His estate quickly became the center of a legal dispute. In October 2023, about a year before his death, Frank's attorney had filed his will for safekeeping. After he passed away, the court approved the document in October 2024. However, the matter didn't end there. By the end of December 2024, an attorney representing one of Frank's longtime friends formally entered the probate case. Then, in February 2025, another legal filing asked the court to invalidate the will entirely and requested that the matter be decided by a jury. As of early 2026, the dispute had still not been resolved. The uncertainty extends over an estate worth millions of dollars, including his impressive collection of vintage motorcycles, thousands of antiques stored in several outbuildings on his Davenport farmhouse, his property, and his longtime antique business. Meanwhile, Frank Fritz Finds continued operating after his death, but never regained the energy it had during the height of American Pickers. Friends had previously discussed the possibility of auctioning Frank's remarkable collections, believing fans and collectors would eagerly bid on pieces connected to his legacy. Yet, as the legal battle continues, those motorcycles, antiques, and countless collectibles remain exactly where Frank left them, waiting for the courts to decide who will ultimately inherit the treasures that defined his life's work. Frank Fritz's legacy now rests in the hands of the courts. The future of American Pickers, however, has remained in the hands of the man who brought the series to television in the first place. Mike Wolf. If American Pickers has a heartbeat, it's Mike Wolf. Long before millions of viewers watched him negotiate for rusty signs, vintage motorcycles, and forgotten treasures, Mike Wolf was the one who imagined the entire concept. He didn't just star in the series, he created it, pitched it to television networks, and turned a niche hobby into one of the History Channel's biggest success stories. More than 15 years later, even after cast changes and personal tragedies, he's remained the show's driving force. Mike grew up in LeClaire, Iowa, where his love for picking started at an early age. As a kid, he'd ride his bicycle through nearby neighborhoods, knocking on doors and asking homeowners if they had old items they wanted to sell. While most children were collecting toys, Mike was fascinated by objects with history. That curiosity eventually became a career. Before television ever came calling, he launched Antique Archaeology, his antique business in LeClaire, Iowa. The store became the foundation of the American Pickers brand and later expanded with a second location in Nashville, Tennessee. Although the Nashville shop eventually closed so Mike could focus on other projects, the antique archaeology name remains closely tied to his career and to the legacy of the show. But for all of Mike's success, the biggest story surrounding him over the past few years hasn't been about antiques. It's been about his fractured friendship with Frank Fritz. For decades, Mike and Frank were nearly inseparable. They met as kids, built a business together, and spent years traveling America in search of hidden treasures. Their chemistry became one of the biggest reasons American Pickers connected with audiences. Then everything changed after Frank stopped appearing on the show. Frank later claimed they had barely communicated in years and suggested he felt pushed aside after taking time away to recover from back surgery. Around the same time, Mike publicly wished Frank well, but many fans felt the relationship had already broken down beyond repair. The controversy exploded online. Those controversies only intensified after Frank's health struggles became public. Online discussions were filled with speculation, although neither Mike nor Frank publicly detailed every reason behind their falling out. Mike eventually addressed the criticism. In several interviews and public statements, he expressed sadness over the situation and said he had always hoped Frank would recover. Friends close to both men also suggested that years of personal disagreements, different lifestyles, and business decisions had gradually created distance between them. While fans often searched for a single person to blame, those closest to the situation revealed that the split was far more complicated than it appeared from the outside. Thankfully, the story didn't end with bitterness. After Frank suffered his stroke in 2022, Mike was there for him. Before Frank passed away in September 2024, the two former friends were able to reconnect privately. Mike later shared that they spent time reminiscing about their early years together, laughing, crying, and remembering the adventures that changed both of their lives forever. For many longtime viewers, knowing they found peace before Frank's death brought a sense of closure that had seemed impossible just a few years earlier. Professionally, Mike has continued moving forward. American Pickers has now reached its 27th season, making it one of the History Channel's longest-running unscripted series. In 2026, Mike also launched a brand new series, History's Greatest Picks with Mike Wolf, shifting the focus from searching for collectibles to exploring the fascinating stories hidden behind historically significant objects. The project feels like a natural evolution for someone who has always believed that the real value of an antique isn't its price tag. It's the history it carries. Today, Mike remains one of the most successful figures to emerge from American Pickers. Through television, antique archaeology, publishing, business ventures, and years of building one of reality TV's most recognizable brands, he has maintained both his career and his influence. Mike Wolf isn't the only original cast member whose life changed after American Pickers. Danielle Colby found themselves at the center of a very different story, one that quickly spread across the internet. Danielle Colby. While Mike Wolf and Frank Fritz spent most of their time searching dusty barns and forgotten garages, there was one person holding everything together behind the scenes: Danielle Colby. Since American Pickers premiered in 2010, Danielle has been the voice on the other end of the phone, tracking down leads, managing antique archaeology, and keeping the business running while the Pickers traveled across the country. Over the years, she has appeared in hundreds of episodes, becoming one of the most recognizable and beloved faces of the franchise. But away from the cameras, Danielle has always been much more than the woman working the office desk. Unlike many reality TV stars who keep their private lives hidden, Danielle has been remarkably open with fans about both her personal struggles and her passions. That honesty became especially noticeable in 2025 when one emotional social media post left fans deeply concerned about her health. In April 2025, Danielle shared a photo of herself wearing one of her burlesque costumes alongside a heartfelt caption. She revealed that the last time she had worn the outfit, she had been in extremely poor health. She wrote that the night captured in the photo had been extremely painful and frightening, adding that she was grateful to have survived it and looked forward to wearing the costume again with greater confidence and peace. Although the message immediately sparked concern among fans, Danielle chose not to reveal exactly what medical issue she had been facing. That mystery only fueled speculation online, especially since she had previously canceled several public appearances in late 2024 because of serious health issues affecting a family member. Since she never confirmed whether the two situations were connected, fans were left hoping she was recovering well. Outside of American Pickers, Danielle has built a career that's completely different from what many viewers expect. She performs professionally as a burlesque entertainer under the stage name Danny Diesel, celebrating an art form she has long described as empowering, creative, and historically important. She has also dedicated years to preserving burlesque history, teaching classes through the Ecdysiast Arts Museum in Iowa while working toward developing a larger museum project focused on the rich history of American burlesque. For Danielle, it's far more than a hobby. It's a mission to preserve an overlooked part of American culture. Then, on December 3, 2025, her 50th birthday, Danielle unintentionally sent the American Pickers fan base into complete panic. She uploaded a video in which she said that American Pickers was done. Within hours, social media exploded. Fans assumed she was confirming that the long-running series had officially been canceled after more than 15 years on television. News outlets quickly picked up the story, and thousands of viewers began posting farewell messages, thanking the cast for years of entertainment. For a brief moment, it genuinely looked as though one of the History Channel's biggest shows had quietly come to an end. But the story wasn't that simple. Less than a day later, A+E Network's executive Dan Silberman publicly responded, explaining that Danielle's comments did not reflect the network's plans. He clarified that American Pickers had not been canceled. According to the network, production had simply paused because a full season of episodes had already been completed, while Mike Wolf's upcoming series, History's Greatest Picks, had temporarily become the company's primary focus. History Channel representatives also confirmed that American Pickers continued airing new episodes into 2026 and emphasized that additional production remained a real possibility. Seeing the confusion unfold, Danielle quickly addressed the situation herself. She explained that Mike Wolf had personally called her after the video went viral. According to Danielle, she had never intended to make an official announcement on behalf of the network. Instead, she had been speaking from her own financial perspective. Without regular filming, she explained, the steady paycheck she had relied on for years had become uncertain. As she continued investing time and money into building her burlesque museum project, that financial reality weighed heavily on her. From her point of view, the show felt done because she couldn't depend on it the way she once had. Not because the network had formally ended it. Her clarification helped calm much of the speculation, but it also gave fans a rare glimpse into the realities of working in television. Even stars of long-running shows often don't know exactly when production will resume or how future seasons will unfold. Through it all, one relationship has remained remarkably strong. Despite years of cast changes, public controversies, and the heartbreaking loss of Frank Fritz, Danielle and Mike Wolf have continued supporting each other. Danielle has frequently described Mike as being like a big brother, explaining that their families have become so closely connected over the years that no television decision could ever change that bond. As American Pickers continues evolving, Danielle's future extends far beyond the famous antique archaeology office. Whether she's helping preserve the history of burlesque, performing as Danny Diesel, or welcoming viewers back whenever the cameras start rolling again, she has proven that she's much more than a supporting cast member. She's become an essential part of the American Pickers story, and one of the biggest reasons fans have stayed invested for more than a decade. Mike Wolf and Danielle Colby may be the names most closely associated with American Pickers, but they weren't the only familiar faces viewers welcomed into their homes year after year. One of the most recognizable supporting figures was Mike's brother, Robbie Wolf. Robbie Wolf and the supporting cast. While American Pickers was built around Mike Wolf and Frank Fritz, longtime fans know the show wouldn't have felt the same without the familiar faces who regularly appeared along the way. One of those familiar faces was Robbie Wolf. As Mike Wolf's younger brother, Robbie occasionally appeared during the early years of American Pickers, but his role gradually became much bigger as the series evolved. Between 2010 and 2025, he appeared in well over 100 episodes, eventually becoming one of the show's most recognizable supporting cast members. Unlike Mike and Frank, Robbie never seemed interested in becoming the center of attention. He wasn't chasing television fame or trying to build a celebrity image. Instead, he quietly stepped in whenever he was needed, helping with the day-to-day operations of antique archaeology and assisting Mike with picks, deliveries, and business matters. His calm personality made him a natural fit for the series. As the show changed following Frank Fritz's departure, Robbie's appearances became more frequent, helping fill the gap left by one of the franchise's original stars. While some viewers initially struggled with the transition, many eventually appreciated Robbie's laid-back style and the genuine family dynamic he shared with Mike. Today, Robbie has largely returned to the quieter lifestyle he enjoyed before becoming a familiar face on television. Do you think American Pickers can still succeed without Frank Fritz? And which cast member's journey touched you the most? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.